With more on President von der Leyen's visit to Canada, we're now joined by Janice Stein, international relations expert and the founding director of the Munk School of Global and Public Affairs. Janice, always great to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight.
I'm great to be with you, Michael.
Now, President von der Leyen, she does come as Russia wages war along EU borders with its illegal invasion of Ukraine. Talk to us about how important this visit is, given that context.
It really is important, Michael, and you get a sense of that because she's been invited to address the House of Commons. Why so important now? One, keeping this coalition together is a critical minimum for Ukraine to have a chance of success. And there are frictions in the coalition. The Germans, the French, the Italians, yes, they speak the speech in a sense, but it is clear they are worried about the long-term consequences. Canada, the United States, the East European countries, the Baltics, those are the countries that are leaning in on this. No surprise that she is coming here to do two things, really, to thank Canada for its support and to shore it up.
Now, we hear it from President Zelensky quite often that the war Ukraine is fighting right now is a war for all democratic countries and for all of Europe. How important for Europe is Canada's continued commitment to Ukraine's defense? You hint at it a bit there, Janice, but talk to us a bit more about just how critical Canada's support is for Europe and Ukraine.
It really is, Michael, from two perspectives. One, much to the chagrin of the Europeans, frankly, were the United States not leading on this, we would not be anywhere, frankly. The United States has supplied the bulk of the equipment and the bulk of the leadership in this. Canada is the other North American partner. Is really important. It's always had a voice in Washington, but also been attentive to Europe. Canada is the third biggest lender to Ukraine. It has given aid, direct aid, and so it is punching above its weight on Ukraine, partly because we have such a large Ukrainian diaspora in Canada, and therefore this is front and center on the foreign policy agenda. So shoring up that Canadian support and making sure that we stay engaged has to be a priority for her.
Now, von der Leyen is also here to talk about things like green hydrogen, critical minerals, and there is the economic side of that, certainly. But talk to us about how important these resources are as Western democracies increasingly talk about friendshoring to achieve a political end.
Yeah, and what do we mean by friendshoring? This is a phrase that Janet Yellen, the Secretary of the Treasury in Washington, used. What she really means, Michael, is secure your supply chains on critical issues, on issues that are absolutely essential to the national security. So it is not cut off all trade with China. It is cut off the import of products from China that are essential to our national security. Critical minerals are critical. They are going to be key components in the manufacture of electric batteries. They are key across so much of the high precision manufacturing. And Canada, it can make a contribution here if, in fact, we move more quickly in mining than we normally do. It's interesting, too, Michael, and this probably doesn't get talked about as much. The Europeans are struggling with the Buy America that privileges North American suppliers. You know, we struggled to get in under that wire and be included not only as American manufacturers, but North American manufacturers. Europeans are making themselves heard. They are not happy about this. So this discussion of critical minerals and of the broader supply chain We'll work both ways in Ottawa. Those will be, I think, important and sensitive discussions that will take place.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I do want to build on that because, of course, the United States is our largest trading partner, our nearest neighbor, strongest ally. But how important is the Canada-European relationship for this country's continued prosperity?
You know, the United States, as you just said, Michael, is our biggest buyer. 70% of what we export still goes to the United States. After that, actually, is China, which is surprising. And here's what's frustrating, Michael. We have a free trade agreement that we negotiated with Europe, CPAC. And yet our exporters and our private sector businesses have not really taken advantage of that opportunity to the fullest extent possible. We need to do better. We need to do better. The government is, and this is not partisan, both conservative and liberal governments have moved forward with free trade agreements, Europe being the prime example, but none of it is going to matter much if our private sector doesn't get engaged to explore the opportunities. Short answer to your question, it should be more important than it is.
Well, certainly a matter that we're considering as von der Leyen makes her way to this country. Janice, always so good to speak with you. Thank you for putting that into context for us tonight.
Always a pleasure.